What's up guys, this is Ed, Shuttertastic. Today we're going to be talking about the X100s Fuji. So we will see how good this camera is. In the past 2 days that I've had this camera, only 2 people actually bothered to even look at me while I was using it. One person thought it was a Leica and the other person knew what it was, and it gave me a I approve type of nod. That's the great thing about this. It actually tells me that the retro look of this camera actually does work. It looks cheap and old. Now, I normally shoot in RAW with a standard SLR cameras, but I was quite surprised when this little thing started putting out the quality of JPEGs that it had. I was really surprised with the dynamic range in the RAW also. It's very comparable to high-end SLRs. You can literally shoot people in front of a window in a bright daylight like this outside and pull the dynamic range to where you can actually see the blown out sky and still have the people look natural. That's pretty impressive for such a small camera. Now, the camera is usable to me up to ISO 6400 and can be handheld at 1/4 of a second. That means at nighttime, you can actually shoot landscape without bringing a tripod. So that's a big bonus, especially when traveling. This little camera also has a built-in 3-stop ND filter. Surprisingly, it's really good. It's a really good lens. What I did was programmed the function button so I can actually turn it on and off with a touch of a button. So that's really helpful. Now, when people buy this camera, they aren't buying into an entirely new system with lenses, so it's really easy to just grab and go without thinking of like, oh man, what else kind of lens should I get? You also get like a rangefinder-ish focusing experience, hybrid viewfinder, high ISO capabilities, which means it's an awesome night shooter, and it's hella quiet, so you can actually take pictures of people without them knowing it. It's pretty much targeted for documentary and street shooters, which I totally am not, by the way. So what's so good about this leaf shutter? Now, this leaf shutter actually does make this little tiny built-in flash surprisingly useful. It won't overpower the sun, but cranking the shutter and shooting wide open gets you super decent images. Also, being able to shoot flash wide open in daylight gives you photos that look like you've taken them with an expensive SLR camera. The biggest thing that drew me to this camera is that it allows you to shoot at any speed because of the leaf shutter. Let me say it again, at any speed. That's huge, especially because I mainly shoot with flash all the time, day or night. And if this little camera allows me to do that without additional gear, then man, that opens up a lot of possibilities. People actually spend several $100s, if not thousands, on triggering systems to be able to shoot that fast with flashes, especially midday. There are some limitations though. While it can technically shoot at 1/4000th of a second, the flash duration is actually slower than that, which means you're only taking a percentage of most flashes and not letting the camera expose long enough to basically get the whole flash in the photo. Let me say again, like a flash isn't instant. It's actually in super slow motion. The flash goes like this, right? It's slow and then it goes down. So the fastest shutter that one should actually shoot with this flash is 1/1000th of a second, so you can get most of your standard flashes. With the camera's built-in 3D stop ND filter, you can now easily underexpose daylight at f2 using cheap $50 flashes. So in addition to shooting at AFS mode, when you're in the autofocus screen, selection screen, what you want to do with the scroll wheel is scoot it to the left or right. When you move it to the right, it makes the autofocus selection box bigger, whereas if you scroll it to the left, it makes it smaller. Now, when I'm shooting just general shooting, what I like to do is make that box as big as possible, so it'll actually make your whatever you're shooting like snappier. I totally missed that one, but you see it right there? and then one more. Now, when you're shooting something super specific like food or anything, just go ahead and in your autofocus selection one more time and scoot the scroll wheel to the left so you can get super specific focusing selection like so. So that's the Fuji X100s. If you guys want more information, check out the links below. Also check out the website. There's a bunch of information down there. So yeah, this is Ed, shuttertastic.com.